The letter to Timothy is one of the last New Testament letters to be written. It's written at a time that the church is beginning to form its vision of ministry. So we find, for example, in Timothy, lists of qualifications for the different ministries that are arising in the church. And we also see there the vision for the way the church should present itself in the world as a witness to the gospel. And notice how positive this vision is. In every place, men should pray without anger or argument. Here is the vision of the church as the center of dialogue among people in the world, calling people together in dialogue, in unity. Pope Francis is calling the church to return to this vision of our mission in the world. This week, an interview with Pope Francis came out. In my opinion, it's the most significant statement by a pope in the last 20 years. And I urge you to read it. So all you have to do is go online and put in Pope Francis interview, and it will pop up. It was published in all the Jesuit magazines of the world simultaneously. It was an interview that was done several months ago, but they waited until they could get it translated into every language that they published the magazine in. And it all came out this week at the same time. Pope Francis says, instead of being just a church that welcomes and receives by keeping the doors open, let us try also to be a church that finds new roads, that is able to step outside itself and go to those who do not attend Mass, to those who have quit or are indifferent. People who leave the church sometimes do it for reasons that, if properly understood and assessed, can lead to their return, but that takes audacity and courage. So in order to do this, says the Pope, the church must present a positive face to the world, much like the letter of Timothy shows us. So I ask that prayers be offered for everyone, says Timothy, for kings and for all in authority, that we may lead a quiet and tranquil life in all devotion and dignity. This is good and pleasing to God, our Savior, who wills everyone to be saved and to come to knowledge of truth. The church, says the Pope, must find ways to work with authorities in society instead of simply criticizing what they do as immoral. The church should be seen as a place where prayer is offered for a positive resolution to the things that divide society. And in order to do this, every Christian must present themselves as people who are serious about prayer. The prophet Amos is criticizing this mediocre attitude toward prayer in the people of God. When will the new moon be over so that we may sell our grain? When will the Sabbath be over so that we may display our wheat? When will Mass be over so that we can get out to the mall? No one will be attracted to the church if they see that prayer is a low priority to the people of God. No one will be attracted to the church if they see that Sunday worship is only something we do if it fits into our schedule around our other activities. Furthermore, says the Pope, the church must present itself as a place of mercy. In the Gospel, Jesus says that the children of this world are more prudent in dealing with their own people than are the people of God. What he means is people know how to do favors for others in the world so that they will attract the loyalty of others. We do that all the time. And so the Pope says the church must appear in the world, first of all, as a place where people find favor with God. And only then will they be challenged to grow in the spiritual life. Now, here's another quote from the interview. Listen to this. This is a lengthy quote. The church's ministers must be merciful, take responsibility for the people, and accompany them. This is the pure gospel. God is greater than sin. The first reform must be the attitude. The ministers of the gospel must be people who can warm the hearts of the people, who walk through the dark night with them, who know how to dialogue and to descend themselves into the people's darkness without getting lost. A person once asked me in a provocative manner if I approved of homosexuality. I replied with another question. Tell me, when God looks at a gay person, does he endorse the existence of this person with love or reject and condemn this person? We must always consider the person. Here we enter into the mystery of the human being. In life, God accompanies persons, and we must accompany them. Starting from their situation, it is necessary to accompany them with mercy. We have to find a new balance. Otherwise, even the moral edifice of the church is likely to fall down like a house of cards, losing the freshness of the gospel. The proposal of the gospel must be simple, profound, radiant. It is from this proposition that the moral consequences will flow. This is very powerful and worthy of very careful meditation. In all of this, Jesus today challenges us about money. He says, you know, what you spend your money on shows what your priorities are. You cannot serve both God and money. We must always consider the person, says the Pope. We must accompany them, starting from their situation. We want more young people in the church. How much money are we investing in ministry to youth and young adults? Half the people in the Archdiocese of Chicago are Hispanic. How much money do we invest in Hispanic ministry? Instead of being just a church that welcomes and receives by keeping the doors open, let us try also to be a church that finds new roads, that is able to step outside itself. If 90% of the church's budget is simply given to keeping the doors open, to maintaining buildings, then the church will not be an effective witness. It will continue to decline. These are serious questions that face us, so the Pope is calling for structural change in the Catholic Church. It's a very, very courageous and prophetic message. And in fact, in this letter, the Pope says that the prophecy has been lost in the church. And what we need is to recover a true prophetic message. These kinds of questions can only be answered in prayer and with the collective wisdom of the clergy and the laity and religious, all working together to find a new vision. So I close with one more quote from Pope Francis. Tradition and memory of the past must help us to have the courage to open up new areas to God. Those who today stubbornly try to recover a past that no longer exists have a static and inward-directed view of things. God is in every person's life. God is in everyone's life. Even if the life of a person has been a disaster, God is in this person's life. You must try to seek God in every human life. Although the life of a person is full of thorns and weeds, there is always a space in which the good seed can grow. You have to trust God. Let us stand together.